Our next topic is the fact that there is a live-action Spider-Man Noir series at Amazon in the works. As we know, Amazon does a really good job with high-budget shows. At least for the most part, I'd say they are pretty successful, have a great track run. And the fact that they're going to get a Spider-Man show that is going to be set in the 1930s with a slightly older Spider-Man, not going to be Peter Parker, I think it's going to be an interesting watch. And I'd be excited to see where they take it, especially because we haven't seen Noir Spider-Man in anything other than Into the Spider-Verse. So it would be
Pretty
interesting.
much. Well, I think he was also in a animated series.
Right, but I think
popped up here and there.
I think for the most part we've seen him like very little. So it'd be cool to see him get his own spotlight, and it opens up the door, I think, for a lot more spider people in live action shows or movies, and that could potentially be crossover events and stuff like that. So it'd be great to see an expanding spider world.
Right, and the Sony, I can't remember if it was Amy Pascal, but one of the Sony producers came out and said that these Sony Spider Marvel characters getting their own spin-off shows is a huge priority for them. So I think shows like Spider-Man Noir, which I think is a great freaking idea. Silk Spider Society.
Right,
I
yeah.
always get the name terribly wrong. I'm not totally sold on that as of right now. I think it's an interesting idea. It could be done right. I'm not sure if that's taking away the Black Cat Silver Sable movie that was in development by Sony, or if that's totally unrelated or not. Not sure how that works, but it sounds like Sony and Amazon is going to be in the works in doing TV deals for probably the next 5, 10 plus years. And it's, in a way, it's surprising that Sony doesn't want to partner up with Marvel Studios to develop some of these characters and include them into the MCU, which, maybe some would argue, hey, the MCU hasn't been as successful as of late. Hey, you got a good point there. But I think the MCU overall is doing just fine.
And not only that, one of their most successful things has been Spider-Man.
Right, their version of Spider-Man. Tom Holland's, yeah, absolutely. But one of the things that the loss of 20th Century Fox and their X-Men movies, whether you love all of them, you hate all of them, or you're kind of iffy, 50-50, is having different studios developing comic book properties. Different producers, different ideas, and different takes, different tones.
Right. Everything kind of becomes the same.
Right. Everything being under the MCU banner is not necessarily, I don't know, the most interesting or the most intriguing to me. Having a different take. I mean, they did Werewolf by Night, for instance, which was totally different. They've done things that have felt different.
Right.
And their tones have, I don't know.
Varied.
Yeah. But something like Spider-Man Noir, which I guess this take is going to be, like you said, in the 30s, and it's not going to be Peter Parker. It is going to be an older, more grizzled Spider-Man. And that is very interesting because it's not really a Spider-Man we've gotten to see as a lead thus far. We've gotten to see Tobey in No Way Home, which would be great. How cool would it be? Now I'm just spitballing here, but how cool would it be if they pitched this series to Tobey Maguire? Let's say Tobey doesn't have any Spider-Man plans in the future, and they say, hey, Tobey, we want to do a 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons, like 8 episodes, 6 episodes a season, Spider-Man Noir. You're not going to be playing Peter Parker, but it does come with a paycheck. Eleanor, do you think there's any chance that Tobey Maguire could be playing Spider-Man Noir? Now, I'm saying, like I said, it wouldn't be connected to anything previously, and it would have to do, obviously, he'd have to have a clear schedule on his calendar for this. What do you think?
If he had a clear schedule and they can make it work without it feeling confusing, without it feeling like, okay, this doesn't tie into Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but I don't get it. If they were able to get over that hurdle, I could see them doing that. But unfortunately, I do think that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are too attached to the Peter Parker character
They might be.
to move forward with that. Though I think there are good options. I mean, Pedro Pascal has been killing it and everything, so why don't we just throw him in this?
There you go.
I mean, I think it'd be great. There's a lot of people out there that I think are great actors that you could throw into this role. I mean, you could even, I don't know, like, let's go completely crazy and let's throw Cillian Murphy in there. That would be cool.
Hey, nice.
He'd be like, damn it, another time period piece.
Let's give you a studio, ma'am.
Yeah, give me my own studio and all the money that
And
comes with
hundreds
it.
of millions of dollars. Make these decisions off the top of your head. I love it.
Yeah, that wouldn't turn into a plane crash in any sense of the word. But I do think that a Spider-Man Noir series will really kind of refresh the Spider-Verse because it can kind of get stale after a while of hearing Peter Parker, Uncle
Green
Ben
Goblin,
dies, and then we
Doc
start,
Ock.
yes, and then it's just over and over and over. So I think it will be refreshing to move into a different era of Spider-Man
While
to really see
keeping-
something else and still preserving the Spider-Man we all know and love and having him somewhere else. So I think it's a good idea because if they were to do a Spider-Verse is already set up perfectly to have different universe Spider-Men. So you wouldn't have to explain why they don't intersect and why there's not like, oh, well, Peter Parker is not the first Spider-Man in this universe, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to explain any of that because they're all in separate universes. So I think that would work really well. It would be a good move for Sony, and especially if they have enough of the rights to continue making a believable Spider-Verse and continue making it enjoyable. I just want to see more Spider-Man stuff. So
And
I'm all
other
for it.
spider characters. I want to see.
Right.
You know, they said that this isn't going to be Peter Parker. I wonder if that's because of some sort of contractual issue. Maybe because of the confusion, like you said. And you're probably right. Toby's probably way too recognizable. It's like getting Christian Bale to play Superman or something like that.
Right.
But I think and it sucks that he's not going to be going up against Nazis that we know of. But it's probably going to be
Right.
something along
the 30s
those lines.
is a little too early for that, but it could be mobsters and gangsters
Which would be
because
so freaking cool.
that's around the time of like like Bonnie and Clyde, that kind of deal. So that
Right.
would be kind of interesting. It's also during the Depression, so it would be great to see what is a Spider-Man doing, and he's probably more grizzled because the Great Depression is happening. The Dust Bowl just happened, so everyone's down on their luck. Everyone is SOL, and so I think that it would really make an interesting perspective for a kind of jaded Spider-Man. So I think it's going to be interesting to see.
He traditionally shoots guns, right?
I think so.
The 30s, would you think Peter Parker, or I guess it's not Peter Parker, but do you think this version of Spider-Man would have access to a gun at that time?
Probably, especially if you're dealing with mobsters. Maybe you wouldn't use it all the time, but maybe his web shooter is in the form of a gun.
I guess it is in New York. It's not like there's a huge contraband at the time, right?
No. But maybe it is like, his web shooter is more like a revolver that he holds on to rather than
He uses
a web
it
shooter. Who knows what they're going to do and how they're going to explain all this stuff. There's a lot of things they could do there. So I am interested to see that and see where they take it. But
I wonder if Spider-Man Noir is going to be using his web shooters kind of as like a backup, like a last resort. Maybe it leaves like a trace behind. And that would be a way to kind of keep the budget a little bit lower.
right.
I would really take my hat off to Marvel Studios if they were the ones behind this idea, because like DC and DC Studios and James Gunn, and they're doing DC Elseworlds.
It would be cool to see a Marvel
to see
Elseworlds.
Spider-Man Noir able to continue and on its own crossover in the future if things lined up that way. If not, it doesn't need to, but it would also open the door for like Spider-Man Miles Morales or Scarlet Spider or Spider-Gwen. Those are all TV series I would watch. I think a
Right.
lot of other people would as well. And that's all I have for it. What do you guys think about Spider-Man Noir getting their own series? Are you excited for it? Or are you a little skeptical about Sony being involved, Lord Miller being involved, Amazon? Whatever you think, let us know in the comments below. And Eleanor, what is our next topic?